Hello, YouTube family. This is Uncle Barrett tuning in with you today, just doing some more brain dumping. Today, I'm going to be reading out of the witnesses of the 12 ancestors from the Hallelujah scriptures. I've been reading it lately, and it's been a very good read. Just kind of telling about the 12 tribes or the 12 brothers of Joseph and some of their mishaps. So today, I'm going to be reading from Judah, his witness to his 12 or to his sons and grandsons about maybe some of his mistakes or regrets or things that he wished that they would hear about before he died. So without further ado, let's begin. The copy of the words of Yehuda, the words he spoke to his sons before he died. So Judah must mean Yehuda in Jewish. They gathered themselves together, therefore, and came to him, and he came to them. Listen, my sons, to Yehuda your father. I was the fourth son born to my father Jacob, and Leah, my mother, named me Yehuda, saying, I give thanks to Yehuda because he hath given me a fourth son also. I was swift in my youth and obedient to my father in all, and I honored my mother and my mother's sister. And it came to be when I became a man that my father Barak, that means bless me, saying, You shall be a sovereign, prospering in all matters. And Yahuwah showed me favor in all my works, both in the field and in the house. And know that I raised a deer and caught it and prepared the meat for my father, and he ate it. So it sounds like he was fast. And the gazelles I used to overcome in the chase and overtake all that was in the plains. I overtook a wild horse and caught it and tamed it. I slew a lion and snatched a kid out of its mouth. I took a bear by its paw and hurled it down the cliff, and it was crushed. So it sounded like he was very strong. Now I ran the wild boar, and seizing it as I ran, I tore it into pieces. In Abram, a leopard leaped on my dog, and I caught it by the tail and hurled it on the rocks, and it was broken in two. I found a wild ox feeding in the fields, and seizing it by the horns and spinning it around and stunning it, I threw it from me and slew it. And when the two sovereigns of the Canaanites came, sheathed in armor against our flocks and much people with them, I single handedly rushed upon the sovereign of Hatzar and smote him on the shin guards and dragged him down, and so I slew him. And the other, the sovereign of Tapua, I slew as he sat upon his horse, and so I scattered all his people. And I found Akar, the sovereign of man of great height, hurling spears before and behind as he sat on the horseback. And I lifted a stone of 5,000 shekels weight and threw it and smote his horse and killed it. I fought with the other for 2 hours, and I split his shield in two and cut off his feet and killed him. And as I was stripping off his breastplate, see, 9 men, his companions, began to fight with me. And I wounded my garment on my hand, and I slung stones at them, and killed 4 of them, and the rest fled. And Jacob my father slew Baalsheth, sovereign of all the sovereigns, and a giant in strength, 12 high. And fear fell upon them, and they ceased fighting against us. Therefore my father was free from anxiety in the battles when I was with my brothers. And for he saw in a vision concerning me that a mighty messenger followed me everywhere, that I should not be overcome. And in the south there came upon us a greater battle than that in Shechem, and I joined in battle array with my brothers and pursued 1,000 men, and slew them 200 men and 4 sovereigns. And I went up upon the wall, and I slew 4 mighty men, and so we captured Hazar and took all the spoil. On the next day we departed to Arantan, a city strong and walled and incapacible, threatening us with death. But God, that's GAD, and I approached on the east side of the city and Reuben and Levi on the west. And those that were upon the wall, thinking that we were alone, were drowned, were drawn down against us. And so my brothers secretly climbed up the wall on both sides with stakes and entered the city while the men did not know. And we took it with the edge of the sword. And as for those who had taken refuge in the tower, we lit fire to the tower and took both it and them. And as we were departing, the men of Tappuah rushed on our spoil and delivered it up to our sons. We fought them as far as Tappuah, and we slew them and burnt their city and took all that was in it as spoil. And when it was at the waters of Kazabah, and men of Yabel came against us to battle, and we fought with them and routed them, and we slew their allies from Shelah, and we did not leave from strength to come against us. And the men of Makar came upon us the fifth day to seize our spoil, and we attacked them and overcame them in fierce battle. For there was a host of mighty men amongst them, and we slew them before they had gone up to ascent. And when we came to their city, their women rolled stones upon us from the brow of the hill, or with the city stood. And Simeon and I hid ourselves behind the town and took hold upon the heights and destroyed this city also. And the next day it was reported that the sovereign of the city of Gahash was coming with a mighty host against us. Therefore Dan and I disguised ourselves as Amorites, and as allies went into their city. And in the depth of the night our brothers came, and we opened the gates to them, and we destroyed all the men and their possessions, and we took as plunder all that was theirs. And we broke down their three walls, and we drew near to Tamah, where all the possessions of the opposing sovereigns was. Then, being assaulted by them, I was therefore wroth and rushed against them to the summit, and they kept slinging against my stones and darts. And had Dan my brother not aided me, they would have slain me. Therefore we came upon them with wrath, and they all fled, and passing by another way, they pleaded with my father, and he made peace with them. And we did not harm to them, and they became compulsory labor to us, and we restored their goods to them. And I built Timnah, and my father built Paabel. I was 20 years old when this battle took place, and the Canaanites feared me and my brothers. And I had much livestock, and I had Harah and Adamite for chief herdsmen. And when I went to him, I saw Parsabah, sovereign of Adamam, and he spoke to us, and he made us a feast. And when I was warned, he gave me his daughter Bathshua as a wife. She bare me Er and Onan and Shelah. And Yahuwah spoke two of them, for Shelah lived, and you are his children. And 18 years my father dwelt in peace with his brother Esau and his sons with us. After that we came from Armin Naharim from Lebanon. And when 18 years were completed in the 40th year of my life, Esau, the brother of my father, came upon us with a mighty and strong people. So y'all remember Jacob and Esau had beef with each other, so it sounds like he's coming back on him and his family. And Jacob smote Esau with an arrow, and he was taken up wounded on Mount Seir. And as he went, he died at Ananarim, and we pursued after the sons of Esau. Now that had a city with walls of iron and gates of brass, and we could not enter into it, and we encamped around and besieged it. And when they had not opened to us in 20 days, I put up a ladder in the sight of all, and with a shield upon my head, I went up, sustaining and assaulted stones upward of 3 talents high, and I slew 4 of their mighty men. And Reuben and Gad slew 6 others. They asked terms of peace from us, and having taken counsel with our father, we took them as compulsory labor. And they gave us 500 cores of wheat, 500 baths of oil, 500 measures of wine until the scarcity of food. And we went down into Mizraim. And after these events, my son Er took Tamar and Aram, Naharaim as wife, a daughter of Abram. Now Er was wicked, and he was in a need concerning Tamar because she was not of the land of Canaan. And on the third night, a messenger of Yahuwah smote me, and he had not known her according to the evil craftiness of his mother, for he did not desire to make children by her. In the days of the wedding feast, I gave Anan to her in marriage, and he also in wickedness did not know her, though he spent a year with her. And when I threatened him, he went in to her, but he spilled the seed on the ground according to the command of his mother, and he also died through wickedness. So it sounded like he was having sex with her, and he pulled out. And I intended to give Sheila also to her, but his mother did not permit it, for she did evil against Tamar, because she was not of the daughters of Canaan, as she also herself was. And I knew that the nation of the Canaanites was wicked, but the impulse of youth blinded my heart. And when I saw her pouring out wine, owing to the drunkenness of wine, I was deceived and took her, although my father had not advised. So it sounded like he got drunk and went into her. And while I was away, she went and took a wife from Kenana and for Sheila. And when I knew that she had done, and when I knew what she had done, I cursed her in the anguish of my being. And she also died through her wickedness together with her sons. And after these events, while Tamar was a widow, she heard after 2 years that I was going up to the share my she was going I was going up to shear my sheep, and adorned herself in bridal array, and sat by the gate in the city of Enom. For it was the law of the Amorites that she who was about to marry should sit 7 days in whoring by the gate. Therefore, being drunk with wine, I did not recognize her, and her loveliness deceived me through the appearance of her adorning. And I turned aside to her and said, "Let me come in to you." And she said, "What do you give me?" And I gave her my staff and my cord and the signet of my ring and pledge. I went in to her, and she conceived. And not knowing what I had done, I intended to put her to death, but she secretly sent my pledges and put me to shame. And when I called her, I also heard the secret words which I spoke when lying with her in my drunkenness. And I could not put her to death because it was from Yahuwah. For I said, possibly she did it shrewdly, having received the pledge from another woman. But I did not come near her again while I lived, because I had done this abomination in Israel. Moreover, they who were in the city said, there was no more in the gate, because she came from another place and sat for a while in the gate. And I thought that no one knew that I had gone into her. And after this, we came into Mizraim and to Joseph, because of the scarcity of food. So remember, Mizraim is Egypt. And now I command you, my sons, listen to Yehuda your father, and guard my words to perform all the laws of Yehovah, and to obey the commands of Elohim. And do not walk after your lusts, nor in the imaginations of your thoughts and the haughtiness of your heart, and do not exalt in the deeds and strengths of your youth, for this is also evil in the eyes of Yahuwah. Since I also exalted in in the battle, no comely woman face ever enticed me and reproved Reuben, my brother, concerning Bela, the wife of my father. The spirits of jealousy and the whoring arrayed themselves against me until I lay with Bethusiah the Canaanite and Tamar, who was married to my sons. For I said to my father-in-law, I shall take counsel with my father, so I shall take your daughter. And he was unwilling, but he showed me a boundless store of gold in his daughter's behalf, for he was a sovereign. And he adorned her with gold and pearls, and made her pour out wine for us at the feast with the loveliness of women. And the wine turned aside my eyes, and pleasure blinded my heart. And I became serious, and lay with her and transgressed the command of Yahuwah and the command of my fathers and took her as a wife. And Yahuwah repaid me according to the imagination of my heart, and so much as I did not joy, as I had no joy in her children. So it sounds like he regrets marrying her because of the lust foundation that he had in his heart. And now, my sons, I say to you, do not be drunk with wine, for wine turns the heart away from the truth and arouses the passion of lust and leads the eyes to err. For the spirit of whoring has wine as a servant to give pleasure to the heart. For these two also take away the heart of man. For if a man drinks wine to drunkenness, it disturbs the heart with filthy thoughts, leading to whoring, and inflames the body to fleshly union. And if the occasion of lust is present, he works a sin and is not ashamed. Such is the drunken man, my sons, for he who is drunk esteems no man. So if it was led me astray, so that I was not ashamed for the multitude in the city, and that before the eyes of all I turned aside to Tamar, and I committed a great sin, and I uncovered the coverings of my son's shame. After I had drunk wine, I did not revere the command of Elohim, and I took a woman of Canaanah as wife. For the man who drinks wine needs much discretion, my sons, and in this is discretion for in drinking wine. A man may drink as long as he maintains decency, but if he goes beyond this limit, the spirit of deceit attacks his heart, and it makes the drunkard to talk filthy, and in transgress, and not to be ashamed, but even to boast in his shame, and to consider himself esteemed. So basically, he's saying all that drunkenness will make you kind of proud and unashamed that you're in a messed up state. He that commits whoring is not aware when he suffers loss, and is not ashamed when put to shame. But even though it sounds like a lot of these women with the OnlyFans today, for even though a man in the sovereign commits whoring, he is stripped of his sovereignty by becoming the slave of whoring, as I myself also suffered. For I gave my staff that is the support of my tribe, and my cord that is my power, and my signet that is esteemed of my reign. And indeed I repented of these matters, wine and meat, and I did not eat until my old age, nor did I see any joy. And the messenger of Elohim showed me that women rule over sovereign and beggar alike forever. And from the sovereign they take away his esteem, and from the brave man his sight, and from the beggar even that little which is the support of his poverty. And so, my sons, observe the limit in wine, for in it there are four evil spirits: of lust, of heated desire, of recklessness, of greedy gain. If you drink wine in gladness, be moderate in the reverence of Elohim. For if in gladness the reverence of Elohim turns away, then drunkenness arises and shamelessness sneaks in. So it sounds like he's saying that as long as you're drinking, just keep your eyes on God, if that's possible, and as you're celebrating. But if you take your eyes off God, then other things kind of creep in. Uh, but if you would live sensibly, do not touch wine at all, lest you sin in words of outrage, and in fightings and slanders and transgressions of the commands of Elohim, and you perish before your time. More, wine reveals the secrets of Elohim and men, even as I also revealed the commands of Elohim and the secrets of Jacob my father to the Canaanites, women, Bashua, with Elohim commanded me not to reveal, and wine is a cause both of the fighting and confusion. And now I command you, my sons, do not love silver, nor the gaze upon the loveliness of women, because for the sake of silver and loveliness I was led astray to Bathshua the Canaanite. For I know that because of these two matters my people shall fall into wickedness. So it sounds like because of his sin, he's claiming that that's like a generational curse. For they shall destroy even wise men among my sons, and shall cause the reign of Yehuda to be diminished, which Yahuwah gave me because of my obedience to my father. For I never caused grief to Jacob my father, for all that he commanded I did. And Isaac, the father of my father, barak me to the sovereign in Israel, and Jacob likewise further barak me. And I know that from me the rain shall be established. And I know what evils you shall do in the last days. Beware therefore, my sons, of whoring and the love of silver, and listen to Yehuda your father. He's talking about us, guys. He's saying, beware therefore, my sons, of whoring and the love of silver, and listen to Yehuda your father. For these matters withdraw you from the law of Elohim, and blind the inclination of the being, and teach arrogance, and do not allow a man to have compassion on his neighbor. That sounds like today, guys. They rob this being of all goodness, and oppress him with the toils and troubles, and drive away sleep from him, and devour his flesh. He inhabits the offerings of Elohim, and he does not remember the Barak of Elohim, and does not listen to the Nabi when he speaks, and resents the words of righteousness. For he is a slave to two contrary compassions, and cannot obey Elohim because they have blinded his being. And he walks in the day as in the night. My sons, the love of silver leads to idolatry, because when led astray through silver, men name as gods those who are not gods, and it causes him who has it to fall into madness. For the sake of silver I lost my sons, and had not my repentance and my humiliation and the prayers of my father been accepted, I should have died childless. So he's saying he messed up bad. If it hadn't been for the prayers of his father Abraham, he would have. Not Abraham. His father Jacob. Then he probably wouldn't have even had kids and would have died with no kids. But the Elohim of my fathers have favor of me, because I did it in ignorance, and the prince of the sea blinded me. And I sinned as a man and as flesh, being corrupted through sins. And I learned my own weakness while thinking myself untouchable. Know therefore, my sons, that two spirits wait upon man, the spirit of truth and the spirit of deceit. And the midst is the spirit of understanding of the heart, to which it belongs to turn wherever it desires. And the works of truth and the works of deceit are written upon the hearts of man, and Yahuwah knows each one of them. And there is no time at which the works of men can be hid, for they have been written on the heart itself before Yahuwah. And the Spirit of truth testifies all the matters and accuses all, and the sinner is burnt up by his own heart, and cannot raise his face to the judge. And now, my sons, command you from Levi, that you may abide, and do not exalt yourselves against him, lest you be utterly destroyed. And Yahuwah gave the rain to me, and Kanahah to him, and he appointed the rain beneath the Kanahah. To me he gave the matters upon the earth, to him the matters in Shahaman. And the Shahaman is higher than the earth, so is the Kanah of Elohim. Higher than the earthly rain, unless it falls away through the sin from Yahuwah, and is dominated by the earthly rain. For the messenger of Yahuwah said to me, Yahuwah chose him rather than you to draw near to him, and to eat of his table, and to offer him the first fruits of the best of the sons of Israel. But you shall be sovereign of Jacob, and you shall be amongst them as a sea. For as on the sea, righteous and unrighteous are tossed about, some taken into captivity, while some are enriched, so also shall every nation of man be in you. Some shall be impoverished, being taken captive, and others grow rich by plundering the possessions of others. For the sovereigns shall be as sea monsters, they shall swallow men like fishes. They shall enslave the sons and daughters of free men. Houses, lands, flocks, silver, they shall plunder. And with the flesh of many they shall uprightly feed the ravens and the storks. And they shall advance in evil ways and covetousness. And there shall be false prophets like tempests, and they shall persecute all righteous men. And Yahuwah shall bring upon them divisions one against another, and there shall be continual battles in Israel. Sounds like today. And my reign shall be brought to an end among men of another people, until the salvation of Israel comes, until the appearing of the Elohim of righteousness. And Jacob and all the Gentiles may rest in peace, and he shall guard the might of my reign forever. And Yahuwah swore to me with an oath that he would not destroy the rain from my seed forever. Now have much grief, my sons, because of your wickedness and the sorceries and the idolatries which you shall practice against the rain, following the mediums and diviners and the demons of air. Talking about following all those witches. You shall make your daughters singing girls and whores, and shall mix in the abominations of the Gentiles. For because of these, Yahuwah shall bring upon you scarcity of food, and pestilence, death, and the sword, distress by enemies, and revealings of friends, and slaughter of children, and the violations of wives, the plundering of possessions, and burning of Hakal, of Elohim, the laying waste of land, the enslavement of yourselves among the nations. And they shall make some of you eunuchs. They shall make some of you eunuchs for your wives, until you will visit you when you repent with a perfect heart and walk in all his commandments. And he brings you up with captivity among the nations. And after these events, a star shall arise to you from Jacob in peace, and a man shall arise from you, from my seed, like the brilliance of righteousness, walking in the sons of men in meekness and righteousness, and no sin shall be found in him. And the shaman shall be open to him to pour out the Ruah and Barak and Kodesh, Father, and he shall pour out the spirit of favor upon you, and you shall be sons unto him in the truth, and you shall walk in his commands first and last. Then the sceptre of my reign shall shine forth, and from your root a sprout shall arise, and from it shall grow a rod of righteousness to the Gentiles, to rightly rule and to save all that call upon Yahuwah. And after these matters, Abraham and Isaac and Jacob shall arise to life, and my brothers and I shall be chiefs of the tribes of Israel. Levi first, and I second, and Joseph third, Benjamin fourth, Shimeon fifth, Issachar sixth, and so all in order. And Yahuwah shall Barak Levi, and the messenger of the presence me, and the powers of his thing, Simeon the Shahamim, Reuben the earth, Issachar the sea, Zebulun the mountains, Joseph the Mishkan, Benjamin the luminaries, Dan Eden, Naphtali the sun, Gad the moon, Ishar. And you shall be the people of Yahuwah and have one tongue, and there shall be there no spirit of the seat of Baal, for he shall be cast into the fire forever. And those who have died in grief shall arise in joy, and those who were poor for the sake of Yahuwah shall be made rich, and those who are put to death for the sake of Yahuwah shall awake to height. And the deer of Jacob shall run in joyfulness, and the eagles of Israel shall fly in gladness, and all the people shall sing Yahuwah forever. Therefore, my sons, observe all the Torah of Yahuwah, for there is exception for all those who hold fast in his ways. And he said to them, see, this day I die before your eyes, 119 years old. Let no one bury me in costly garments, nor tear open my bowels, for those who are sovereigns do this, and carry me up to Abraham with you. And when he said these words, Yehuda fell asleep, and his son showed according to all that he commanded them, and they buried him in Abraham with his fathers. So that was a good one in my opinion. Again, let me know what you guys think in the comments. To me, he's talking about a lot of things that sounds like was generational curses that affected us to this day. And we can see how the world is acting and how people are treating each other just through the acts of, falling in love with the money and the whoring. I mean, there's been no greater time in American history that, with the OnlyFans and how easy access is to sex and, what's driving all that, which is money. We live in a crazy time. But let me know what you all think. Y'all stay blessed.